All right, welcome to the Creation to Cash Flow podcast. On this podcast, we help entrepreneurs and content creators improve their mindset and make more money so you can achieve whatever freedom it is you want in your life. We have a great one for you today. We're going to talk a lot about discipline, but before we do, hi Michelle, how's it going?
Hi, Nick. It's good. I'm a little stuffy and sneezy today, but 'tis the season. I will get through it. It'll be good. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Have so many things cooking. I feel like I have 8 pots on the stove and only 2 burners, and I'm trying to keep everything nice and hot. It feels like cooking, like for Christmas, where you're like, I have so many things in the oven right now and on the stove, and like I hope I don't burn anything. Um, but it's great because Christmas is wonderful, and we do it for the people around us.
Such a good analogy, and I feel the same way.
Yeah. It's so great though. I mean, I'm so happy and so blessed right now. Like I'm living my dream life every single day of just like I wake up when I want to and I go to the gym and then I get to help a bunch of people and inspire them. It's a beautiful beautiful thing, but this is a crazy time of year, let me tell you. Especially cuz I'm doing a ton of Christmas shopping. I've bought more things for the people around me in the last 2 weeks than I have bought for myself in the last like decade. But it's great. It feels so nice to be able to buy gifts for friends and family and to do that.
Yeah, I agree. That's like one of the biggest joys every day is like, because I'm wrapping gifts. I have so many gifts. Like you said, I bought more. I bought more this year than I've ever bought in any year. And it's just like, I'm so grateful that I'm able to give. And that's like my joy right now. My life is chaotic. I feel like I'm kind of not living the dream at the moment because everything is so chaotic and like there are a few things I'm doing where I'm like, wait, why am I doing this? So, but I also see like the end and I see like, okay, I get to give, I get to serve the meal, hopefully things don't burn on the stove, but like it's coming. So I'm grateful you brought that up because it just made me smile because I'm like, you know what? I get to give a gift. And to me, that's like one of my favorite things to do.
It's true. And we're lucky to be in a position where we are busy this time of year because there's so many people that are trying to figure out like what to do right now. So we have a lot to be grateful for, including how exciting for all of our listeners. Me and Michelle, we have talked a million times about Robin Sharma. He's our favorite author, and Robin Sharma sent us signed copies of his newest book, The Wealth Money Can't Buy, which is so cool. That was such a good book too. The next one we should read is probably The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari, and we'll probably get a few good podcast episodes out of it. But before we get too sidetracked, let's dive into today's topic. Today we're talking about discipline, and more specifically, maybe overcoming a lack of discipline. Everyone says the same cliche. I've been seeing it on social media for years, spun in different ways of like, you don't need motivation, you need discipline. And it's like, okay, we get it. We get it. But like, what are some actionable things you can do? How do you actually become a disciplined person? Like, these are the conversations that are important and that move the needle forward. It doesn't help when someone is just shouting, like, motivation's crap, you need discipline. It's like, okay, what does that even mean? So let's unpack this a little bit. Michelle, would you consider yourself to be a disciplined person?
Yes. And I say that confidently, but I was not always a disciplined person at all. And I have my moments. But yeah, I'm pretty disciplined. Like it's become a norm and habitual for me.
That was going to be my next question is you weren't always this way, were you?
Hell no. Okay, Nick, and I've talked about this on the podcast about how much I love those little like Trader Joe's and Sprouts Takis, like the chips. And when I'm stressed out, I truly just find so much short-term satisfaction, instant gratification, and eating them with a sparkling water, right? Well, the other day I got groceries delivered and I had them in my cart and I removed them from my cart. This is 2 days ago. I removed them and I was like, you know what? I don't need that. I just need these groceries. I don't need to eat those. I'm not going to find my satisfaction in those. Like, I know it's something so simple, but it's like, to me, that is progress because even when I'm my most disciplined and I'm waking up at 5 a.m., I would still indulge in those like whenever, like at least twice a week, right? So I'm proud of myself. Like to me, I was like, that's a huge growth moment because no one's holding me accountable. I have the money to buy these $4 tips. Like, what was the reason of not getting that? My self discipline, knowing they're not good for me. This isn't going to help my mental state. It's a false gratification and it's not helping my health. It doesn't have any of the like red 40 or any of the crap regular Takis have. Like it's not that unhealthy, but I knew I didn't eat it. I was like, I need to not do that. I need to meditate for longer or do some breath work. Like that's really what I mean. So yeah, I'm not perfect though. There's still other things that I'm like, I don't have to do that today.
That's fantastic. That is a perfect analogy for what discipline is like. It it isn't it's making the hard choice when it's the last thing you want to do. Like that probably sucked removing those from your cart. Like you were like, "Oh my god, I have a short-term solution to my problems right here." Like that's this might be drastic, but it feels like that's like an alcoholic like pouring all their liquor down the drain, like where you're like, "Honestly, I don't need it. I don't need it. I have it. I have the ability to have it right here, and I'm not going to exercise that because you are disciplined." So that is such a great little story of discipline because it's the little things like that. People think it's like the big decisions, right? Like the decision to start a business or to hire someone or fire someone. And it's like discipline is actually all of those little tiny things where you're like, oh my God, like I'm running late. Do I make my bed? Like it's all the little things. So to hear you win a little battle like that, knowing that it actually creates massive momentum in your mind, that's thrilling to me.
Yeah, and it's those little habits and little things where you make a tiny decision. No one would have ever known that. I honestly forgot about that until you just mentioned something about discipline and I was like, "Oh my god, I forgot I did that." But it's like that builds confidence in me. That builds confidence in you when you decide knowing full well this is what's best for me. I'm doing this even though I don't want to do this. I don't want to remove this from my cart. Like honestly, it builds this like momentum. And I feel like it's those little bitty decisions of confidence and like overcoming those temptations that helps you build the momentum and become higher level and your vibration raises and all of that stuff.
That's exactly it. Another thing I like to associate discipline with, they're practically synonymous. Mental toughness. To me, they're practically synonymous because if you were mentally weak or at least weaker that day, you leave them in the cart. But that takes so much mental toughness to do the thing that you know you should do. And it's way easier as on the side of mental weakness, it's way easier to cut corners and make excuses and be like, well, I haven't had them in a while and it's been a pretty long week. I'm going to get them. It's only $4. It's fine. I'm only going to get them this once. That is the mindset of someone who is mentally weak. But there are not that many people that I can think of that have more mental strength than you. Being able to say no to something like that, as silly as it sounds, the reason is because there's no penalty at all for doing it. If you do it, it doesn't really cost you much money. Like $4 right now, they're practically free. There's no one like you're not gonna like instantly gain weight or have like an instant health problem, right? Because you ate this like not so healthy snack. Like there's no real punishment other than just that feeling of guilt that you did something you shouldn't have. And even that alone, you were like, nope, nope, get these out of my cart. Not happening, not now.
Yeah, it's so funny that I did that because I'm so happy I did and I'm glad I brought it up. But another thing this week and the past week is I have this thing where I always put these ankle weights on, like my 1 pound ankle weights, and I'll just walk around the house with them. And I have not been feeling well. I've been sick the last like 4 days and I haven't wanted to work out. But I'm like, I'll put on the freaking ankle weights because if I'm just sitting on the couch or doing anything, I could do a few like ab crunches with them on or some like bicycles or some scissors, whatever, just something. And so having them on, simply just putting the weights on makes me more motivated to then get like 5 reps of like donkey kicks in or just anything, you know? So it's like those little decisions where you're like, I don't want to work out. I'm not going to work out, but I'm going to put these ankle weights on and walk around and that's enough. And then like you start to feel the motivation and the momentum and that's where the motivation starts to trickle in too. So it's like little things like that. So yes, that is such a long answer to say I am, but I'm not always self-disciplined. I'm not always motivated. Definitely not right now. I'm very stressed out, but I'm still grateful within that. You know, there's like chaos, but I'm like, I'm so happy. Look at the beautiful sky and the mountains. Like, I love my life. But yeah, I have my moments, but that was a moment that I overcame on Monday, and I'm happy I got to share it. So thank you.
That's a really good one. I'm glad we brought it up. Two of my favorite people that have helped me create a lot of discipline in my life. One, Jocko Willink, of course. Two, Andy Frisella. Do you know who Andy Frisella is? Okay, I'm not sure I could describe him super well, honestly. Um, it's kind of similar attitude to Jocko Willink. And one of my favorite Jocko Willink quotes around discipline, he says, if you want to be tougher, that's how the quote starts. What do you think his solution is, Michelle? If you want to be tougher, blank, says Jocko Willink.
Maybe do harder things and that you achieve, and then you'll become tougher. I'm just thinking of like, if I want to be stronger physically, I would do harder weights, do more weights. That way I can stretch and then break down those things to grow them. So I don't know. To me, that's what I would think, but what's the answer?
That's a great answer. Obviously, I wasn't expecting you to like just know off the top of your head what he says, but that's a great answer. He says, if you want to be tougher
Okay.
because it's a decision. It really is. Like, it is all negotiation with your own mind.
Isn't that crazy?
It's crazy. Like when you wake up in the morning and you're like, all right, alarm just went off. But you know you have 30 minutes. Like, do you snooze it or do you get up? And I'm not saying I'm the most disciplined person in the world. I'm pretty fucking good though, to be honest. But like, if you want to make more money, just make more money. If you want to be tougher because you know the things that you need to do in order to be stronger, tougher, happier, healthier, wealthier. We all know the shit. Stop eating terrible. Start hitting the gym. Start doing more work. Start posting on social media. Like, we all know the steps we need to take, but it requires mental toughness to do them. And your brain is going to try and talk you out of doing these things. And you have to learn to almost like, I almost feel like sometimes I try to think of myself like I'm a little bit schizophrenic. I hope this doesn't come off horribly to our audience, but like I truly try to think of like in my brain, like there's a version of me that wants me to succeed that's much quieter. And then there's like a louder voice in my head that's telling me all the wrong things to do. And I try to think of it that way. I feel a little bit crazy saying it out loud, but I think it makes so much sense because the loud voice in my head is like, hit the snooze button, like go open a beer, like you're tired, like you earned it, like go do this, go do that, like don't brush your teeth, you're already in bed, like just go to sleep. Like that, there is that happening in my head, and I just have to be like, who the fuck is that? That's a terrible idea. Like I'm not doing any of that stuff. And it just makes so much sense to me to just be like, if you want to be tougher, just be fucking tougher, make better decisions.
Yeah, it's so crazy how we all have those little voices. I mean, I told you the story about how I used to hear my name being called. So I don't even think schizophrenia is even in the realm of what I would have thought that you were talking about. But I deal with this every day, like literally every single day. I have things throughout the day where it's like, do I want to do this or do I want to do this? And I have to make a decision. And it's like, it's so beautiful that as an adult we get to make our own decisions and be in control of what we do and what we say yes to and what we say no to. However, if you don't have the confidence that you can achieve your dreams or your goals, it's going to be a lot harder to hear the voice that's like, you can do it, you got this, don't eat the freaking Takis, you know? We're going to hear the other voice way louder. So it's like you have to train yourself to not only hear the voice, but believe the voice and listen to it, the good voice that's usually more quiet. And there's so many days that I don't want to do my Duolingo lesson. But today I hit day 722. 722 days in a row I've been doing my Duolingo. And it takes a few minutes, and there are times when I'm like, I don't want to freaking do this. But I ain't letting that 722-day streak go away. Are you kidding me? That's like torture to me. So it's like You've got to show up because no one's going to show up for you. No one's doing it for you. And you have to do it for yourself. But if you don't believe that you can, you won't. So you have to just be tougher.
I really like what you said about it almost being not believable, especially at first, like when the good voice is like telling you all the good things that will happen. Before you have some proof of that, like it's very easy to just drown that out with the negative voice in your head. Like for example, if you're going on a weight loss journey and you just started it, the voice that's like, oh, like eat the good thing, like buy the good food, like stay on the treadmill another 5 minutes, like it's going to pay off. It's not very believable at first until you really have some proof. And that's why, like, I bet it was much harder for you. Probably the first 30 days of your Duolingo streak were probably way harder than it is right now. Because now you're like, I've got the proof. Like, this right here, this streak, that is the proof of my discipline. We've been talking about this since you were at like a 200-day streak. And it's interesting how much it compounds, like discipline and confidence. They compound on top of each other. But the hardest part is in the beginning where you're trying to reprogram your brain and you're trying to become aware that like not all of your thoughts are real and true and have your best interest in mind. And that's a crazy thing that we deal with as people, that like your own mind is often trying to sabotage you. That's crazy and it's very hard to deal with. But if you know that, then when your brain is like, oh, I'll hit the snooze button, like that's fine. I'll be able to get to work 5 minutes late. Like no big deal. No one will notice. If you start to think about how a lot of the things you tell yourself are lies to hold you back and you're the only person in your way, you can overcome it and accomplish things that you have never thought possible. Like we're doing episode 90 of this podcast. That takes so much discipline for us to do this podcast every single week for 90 weeks. And we have never run an ad. We have never asked y'all for money. We've never tried to push anything on you. Do y'all know how much discipline that requires? Because, like, we could make a lot of money if we start throwing products and ads at all of you guys, but we're trying not to fill your ears with fucking garbage. Like, we're trying to inspire you, make you better, make your life amazing. So take a minute. If you have been loving this podcast, if we make you laugh, if we make you smile, if you learn something, if this is helping you improve your mindset, give us that 5-star rating because we have something huge coming for you guys, but we're not releasing it until we get a bunch more 5-star ratings. We have a shockingly low amount for how often you guys share with us directly how much you love this podcast. So let's pump those numbers up so that me and Michelle can share something awesome with you guys.
Yes, please. That would be amazing. We love seeing it too. Gosh, I was going to say something when you were talking. I was going to bring it up.
I derailed us a little, but I'll throw it back to you. We were talking about sort of like the lies that we tell ourselves and how the discipline compounds. And does that help you?
No. I'm trying to be better with ADHD. We have a tendency to interrupt people as soon as we have a thought because we'll lose it. So we just chime in. And I've gotten way better than I used to be, but anytime I wait, then I lose the thought and I'm like, well shit, where'd it go? And then I'm like, well, I should have just interrupted.
It's okay. I saw that you had something and it will come back because I have more related topics. Another Jocko Willing quote that I love. Are you ready for it? Good.
Is that the quote?
That's the quote. Yep. And he says it anytime something bad or difficult happens, right? If it's like, oh, but I don't want to get up early. It's like, good. Like, oh, I don't know how to start a business. Good. Like, no matter what it is. Oh, I don't have enough money to to hire someone. Good. Like, no matter what, it's an opportunity. And it is a challenge. And if you have discipline and you see everything as an opportunity, it's fantastic. Right? Like when I bought a guitar and I was like, I don't know how to play guitar. It's like, good. Now you're going to learn. Now you got to figure it out. That is one of my favorite Jocko Willing. That's one of my favorite quotes because it applies to every single situation ever. Anything that happens to you, good. Figure it out.
Yeah, I was telling Evan earlier, I think it was this morning, I was telling him, I was like, I'm really stressed out, but it's good because I'm learning something. Like every single time that I'm like going through something or thinking something, or there's like difficulty or things aren't working out the way they should. Like yesterday, I was on the phone with Capital One and Fidelity for like 5 hours going back and forth and back and forth, and it was chaos. And I was like, this is an opportunity to learn, to grow, to share what I learn. And so it's like, there's a lesson in everything. So, like, what is my lesson? And so I was talking with him about like just those kinds of things. Like, these aren't things that are just happening to me, they're always happening for me. And I remind myself that. And I'm like, this isn't life or death, this is just a situation. And this is what I'm going to do about it. And so I think it's just like having that perspective with everything, and I love being a beginner because there's less pressure to do well with it.
I kind of had a scenario happen this morning that's like kind of on the same page where um like later on I'm giving a 90-minute presentation that like I've been kind of preparing for weeks. And so I talked myself out of going to the gym this morning so that I could put extra time into it. And like, is that an excuse? Was I cutting corners? Could I have just woke up earlier and gone to the gym? Yep. So what am I? So good, right? Let's take a minute. Good. Made a mistake. What's the procedure now? After I give that presentation, now I get to go to the gym when it's going to be crowded as fuck and it's going to be a way shittier experience because I deserve it.
Yeah. During your 90-minute presentation, I'm going to be on the treadmill with my ankle weights working out while we're in the meeting, because I will be there with you, but I will be exercising because I didn't I did work. I guess I walked the entire hour in our meeting right before we were filming this, but still. So I also remember what I was going to say.
I knew it would come back. Go.
It's about the weight loss thing. So whenever I think it's also a lot of times maybe we believe we can, but we're focusing on the wrong goal. So whenever I lost 40 pounds in 2020, I actually was not trying to lose weight. What my goal was, because I had started to see a therapist about being overwhelmed and burnt out from work. I was a marketing director. I managed like 20 people, and I was overwhelmed and I was stressed out, and I was like, "Oh my god." And my therapist, and I wasn't on Adderall at the time. I have ADHD. I was trying not to do it. I was trying to be natural. And so my therapist was like, you need to be exercising daily. Because as somebody with ADHD, what's it called, metabolize or whatever, endorphins and dopamine, all that way faster than the normal person. So having a workout and an exercise in is the goal. So my goal was every day for 20 to 30 minutes, I will move my body. The byproduct of that was the weight loss. But had I started with, I want to lose 40 pounds, I would have been disappointed. I would have been not confident, because I swear it took like 2 months to see any result. And then suddenly everything came off, and I've kept it off for almost 5 years now. So it's like, it's not always just like, can I or can't I, but it's also like, what am I doing to achieve X, Y, and Z? What am I doing? Because for me, the 40 pounds is amazing, but that was not my intention. My intention was, I'm going to show up every day and I'm going to move my body. That's it. And then everything else followed. And the thing is, I'm in control of showing up. I'm not in control of when my body decides to react and fix itself or whatever. I'm only in control of, am I showing up? And so I think it's so important to share that, because it's like, am I in control of what the Takis do to my body? No, but I'm in control of having them in my pantry and not freaking buying them. I'm in control of listening to a podcast that's like this one versus listening to a true crime podcast to help my mindset. I'm in control of whether or not I walk on my treadmill during a meeting versus sitting on my ass. Sorry, I'm on a TED Talk thing right now, but I'm in control. I'm in control, and I'm gonna keep choosing to focus on things that I'm in control of, versus what you're saying is like the sometimes the goal is off, right? So yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
And on top of that too, the mental toughness that you built on the days that you could have made the excuse and you could have skipped the gym and you could have skipped the workout and you could have got the fast food because it's cheaper and you don't want to go home and cook and this and that, like, it's those little choices that you made on that journey that build the mental toughness, because when you consistently push yourself to do the things you don't want to do, that's how you build discipline. it's never going to be the things you want to do.
It's not, and that's also important because sometimes people are like, I can wake up whenever I want. I can do this. And it's almost you have too much, it's not realistic freedom. You have too much that you're not disciplining yourself with. Therefore, you're not achieving these things. So it's like it's overcoming the mental toughness and the decisions when you're like, I don't want to do this, but I'm gonna do it. As a self-employed person who has no one holding me accountable most of the day, it's like I have to put things in place to where I have to make a decision to then be disciplined. You have to do this. You have to have structure and things that you're holding yourself accountable with, or else you're just gonna flail and not really grow. Like it's almost like the people that grow up wealthy and then they don't have like any accountability or whatever, and then they're lost because they're like, what am I doing? Like I don't have any like thing to aspire to be, or I have everything handed to me, and it's not satisfying.
Yeah, you're not free until you have discipline, right? You could have all the money in the world, but if you don't have the discipline to do hard things, to become smarter every day, to become just a little bit happier, a little bit healthier, right? Have hard conversations with people, like all of that, all of the things in life that make life work worthwhile require so much discipline, right? Like if you want to have a better relationship, you need the discipline to bring up difficult topics and have difficult conversations. And I think that's one where people very often skate by, even with their friends. Like have the hard conversations with the people you love too. Like tell people things that they need to hear. There's probably like you could easily take that too far. But there's someone else that I like to listen to named Andy Elliott. I inject like these hardo discipline guys into my brain all the time to just make me better. And Andy Elliott, he takes it to a far extreme. I'm not saying you all have to take it here. I'm not saying I agree with what he says, but he used to catch a lot of heat online because he had a rule that you can't work for him unless you have a six pack. And like he caught a lot of heat online for that, but realistically, like imagine the discipline of all of his employees, because a lot of people are like, I really want to work for Andy Elliott, so I need to now create the discipline to get in amazing physical shape to where you can see all six of my abdominal muscles. It's one muscle technically, but anyway, imagine the discipline that it takes to work for someone like him. You might not want to work for someone like that. It's fine. It has nothing to do with like what he says, whether I agree with it or not, but just think of the discipline that he's creating for people before they even work for him. And I just think that there's something neat about that. I think you could probably do it in a better way, right? Like if it was me, and I was him and I had to do something like that, I would probably maybe try to make it like a cash incentive, but he does that too. Like some people, he'll be like, I'll give you $10,000 if by the end of the year you have abs.
Wow, I love that. Obviously, people can control that. There's some women, like especially after you have a baby, where your muscles aren't attached to the thing anymore. You literally cannot do that. Like
Right.
a lot of women can. It's not that they're not healthy; they just can't.
It's true. It's got some flaws for sure. You could see why there's probably a lot of hate online, but he's got the right idea to a degree of at least like encourage people to do hard shit and watch it spill over into the other areas of their life, because he's trying to get his employees to have incredible physical fitness. Like it is a big deal to have abs. That's a big deal. It takes a lot of work and energy, and he knows how that will spill over into the way they apply themselves at work. He has another rule that like if you cheat on your partner, you get fired. Some of he's a controversial guy for sure, but he's trying to get the point out there, and he's probably just doing this for virality. These might not even be real rules that he lives by, but he's trying to show people that if you can discipline yourself in one area of life, it has a net benefit on every other area.
It's true. Like I can speak. That is so true. And I said this many times, but back in 2020 when I was getting in my exercise every day, that bled into me starting a business, me staying up late, learning on Google Ads, the free trainings, free courses, the Facebook ads, like teaching myself all these things. And that's only become what my real like life is. That's why I have a Duolingo streak. That's why I have the things I have. It's because I did it in one area and then it literally affects every other area. And I know that's human nature. And I think maybe that's why like people, we talk about this a lot in acting, not in class, but like I talk about this with my actor friends about how like some people that aren't the best actors get like really top leading roles because they look good. And it's like, it's that you expect the people that look good that they're taking care of themselves and they're almost seen as like, it's like that pretty privileged thing, you know? People talk about that all the time. So it's almost like it's not about the look, but it's about what does the look represent? It represents that you take care of yourself, that you're disciplined, that you are have mental toughness of some sort. And I think that is, I mean, it's human nature. It's not even conscious that we're doing this. It's subconscious. And it's true.
I've been seeing a trend on have you seen like the free will trends on TikTok lately?
I haven't been on TikTok in a long time.
Okay. I love that for you.
No, I don't. It's horrible. I need to be on. This is my job, Nick. I need to get back. I feel like I'm a drained battery that is crunching up. Like I'm under the sea, like the freaking submarine, and I'm about to implode because I'm not making content or on TikTok, and it's driving me crazy. Not consuming it, but just on it. Like I haven't been on it. Anyway. Sorry, that was a rant. Tell me about this free will thing.
It felt like that needed to come out, but
Sorry, listeners. I'm a little on edge today.
that's all good. We know you're not feeling well too, and that's when I start to feel that way. Is usually when I'm a little bit sick. But anyway, a lot of people just talking about like exercising their free will. Like for example, I saw a very funny TikTok of this guy. He was just like standing there, one of those like sped up ones, and he was just standing there, and he was like, the text on screen was like me remembering that I have free will to do anything I want, and it was him just standing there like watching football, drinking a beer, and then he just like steps up and starts standing on his coffee table. And he's just like me remembering that I have free will to do anything I want. And I thought it was so funny because I'm seeing that trend and I'm seeing it, but it's all people just doing like ridiculous things. Like it's like me having the free will to just like, just to do whatever, just to do ridiculous things, like just to get in my car and drive to Florida and figure it out. But remember, like, everyone also has free will to do the things that they know they should be doing too. Like this year, I've taken on so many things. Like this year, I've just been exercising my free will. Like all of a sudden, I take Spanish lessons every single week. I play guitar and I surf. And I'm just like, what the fuck? I'm just exercising free will right now because I have discipline and I will keep up with those things because I want to do them. And I know the people listening to this have been, at least if you've been here for a little while, like you've been following along on those journeys. I keep everyone posted, but you all have the free will to do the same. If we were to have a contest of who's busier, who has less free time, I bet I have less free time, but I'm still creating room for these things because I have free will and I can. And I know that in 2 years, I want to be really good at guitar. I want to be completely fluent in Spanish. I want to be an amazing surfer. Like, so it's discipline. Like, exercise your free will, try something new, and then use your discipline to keep getting good at it and keep practicing on the days you don't feel like it. When that voice in your head is like, I don't know if I want to do this right now, or I'm tired, or I'm this, I'm stressed, whatever, do it anyway and look back and be so damn proud because life is very short. If you've been listening to this podcast for a while, we've been doing it for 90 weeks, almost 2 years. Crazy. Coming up on 2 years of doing this podcast. If you're lucky, you live like 70 years. So for like 1/35 of our life, we've been doing this podcast. So if you've been following along for a while and you have these little callings and these things you want to do, right? You want to learn a new language, you want to pick up a new hobby, you want to start getting into the gym or martial arts, just do it. just get started.
Yeah, free will is an amazing thing, but it can also be a really bad thing if you don't take control of it. Like, you have to control your free will, control what you do. Like, that's a thing. That's what I was saying. It's great being an adult. I get to choose what to eat, what not to eat, what to do with my time. If I want to walk while I'm in a meeting or not, you know? I just think it's so cool. And I think that seeing it as an advantage and not as like something that you do recklessly, I think it's fun. And it's also like you got to understand what makes you happy, what brings you joy, what excites you. For me, I'm a competitive freaking person. I like to compete with myself and overcome things I think are impossible. I like to do new things. I like to come up with creative ideas. That is my happy place. So it's like, why the hell would I sit around indulging in things that aren't helping me do any of that? That's not actually going to be satisfying. It's like the delayed gratification is the happiest thing for me. But you have to find what's your happiness? Where is your true joy? Not your short-term joy, but the one that lasts, where you don't need talkies to fulfill you.
Oh, the Takis are kind of cracking me up. But it's what the Takis represent. It's not the Takis themselves. Like, I want our listeners to think of your Takis. Like, what is it? What are the little habits and addictions that you have that are killing your discipline because you're losing the negotiations that you have with yourself, because you know when you go food shopping you're putting shitty food in the cart, or whatever the thing is, right? You're ordering, you're door dashing Wendy's, right? Like, whatever it is, whatever the little addictions that you have are, they're stealing your discipline, because every time you give into one of those things, you lose a little bit of discipline. And it's way harder to get it than it is to lose it. Like, in order to gain discipline, I might have to go to the gym 5 times to make up for like the one time where I did something I shouldn't have.
Yeah. And also, again, it trickles into other areas. Like, I have not had fast food in since 2020, almost 5 years that I have not eaten fast food. I've been in cars where they stop and they get it, and I'm starving. They're like, "What do you want?" And I'm like, "Absolutely nothing." I have a drink fridge in my, I mean, you know, Nick, you've stayed here. I have a drink fridge filled with soft drinks, filled with like sodas. I have not had one soda from there. Not one. I haven't had soda in years. Like, I don't drink soda. Do I like it? Of course I do. Do I want it? No, because the thought of drinking something sugary disgusts me unless there's alcohol in it, but I rarely ever drink alcohol. Last night I wanted a glass of wine to wind down. I did not drink one. I was like, you know what? No, I'll save it for a special occasion. Don't need that. So it's like, it just bleeds into all the areas, and then you get to see the freaking drink fridge every day and you're like, I don't need that, I'm not gonna have that, no. And it's like these little like things in your head that just build up, and you're not even like doing it intentionally, it happens. But don't buy the freaking things, don't buy it. I only have it for people who come over, so they can have a treat, you know. But like, don't buy the talkies, guys. Don't download the game on your phone. You know, there's like little things. I don't know what people do these days, but those are things that I could become addicted to.
Yeah, it's true. I love that about your fridge. Yeah, when I was there, I was like, oh, it's such a beautiful looking fridge, too. It makes me want a soda. And I remember opening that fridge a bunch of times and pulling out all the drawers, looking at everything and being like, awesome. Like, I'll grab a water.
A flavored water.
Yes, right. Oh my God. When I when I took a mango water, but like it was in a regular water bottle and I didn't know, and I took a sip when I was down by your pool, and I like was like, I spit it out. I was like, what the fuck was that? Because I've never had like flavored water in a water bottle like that. So that was shocking. There's a lot of good stuff in that fridge, but point being, I love that you have that, and it's building your discipline daily. Like, you have it, you have a tempting thing right there staring at you all the time, and you're racking up points by having that, Michelle. Like, by having that there and not using it, you're racking up a lot of discipline points, and they're hard to get. So that might be a good strategy for some of our listeners. Like, put the most tempting thing you can somewhere where you'll have easy access to it. Oh, kind of like when you have your phone charger next to your bed and you end up, first thing you do when you wake up, scrolling mindlessly. Before you go to bed, scrolling mindlessly. Like, that is it. Except 99.99% of people lose that battle, which is why I tell you guys most episodes to move your phone charger away from your bed. Like, if you listen to this podcast and you love it and you laugh at us and you get something from it, but you have not given us a good rating yet and your phone charger is still next to your bed, just know that I'm saddened deeply by that. Like, you're killing me a little bit inside because you're not living out your full potential. And it's so easy if you could just move your phone charger away. That one's too tempting. They're psychologically addicting. That's like keeping cocaine next to your bed and you're addicted to cocaine. Like, you're not going to win that battle. So we need some boundaries. But like the soda thing or having an unhealthy snack around and purposely like looking at it and then choosing not to do it, you get tons of discipline points and it's hard to get those points. So rack them up.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Put things in front of you to be self disciplined and be overcoming of the temptation, whatever that thing is. It's so beautiful that we get to like have the free will to say no to some things that we know aren't best for us.
Yes, but only if you guys use it. It's not beautiful if you have these things and you're abusing them and you have these little addictions that you know are holding you back. And for our listeners, we both know what I'm talking about. Like, you know, you have things in your life that you're doing that are holding you back and you do them often and you don't know why you do them. It is time to build some discipline. If you want to be tougher, be tougher. You got to start thinking about how your thoughts are not really real. Your brain is trying to convince you to do things that will increase your dopamine. So you've got to learn, when you have a thought, you've got to learn to question it. Not everything that comes up in your brain is real and is true and is believable.
Yeah, most things aren't. So you have to be aware, which is why journaling is so good. You have to be aware of what are you even freaking thinking? And is it you? Is it not? Where is it coming from? Why is it there? Just be mindful of your thoughts, which is why I love silence, because we don't have all this shit going in our head. Sorry, I cussed a lot on this episode. Sorry, too. We don't have a lot of crap going in our head. Whenever we're in silence, we can only just hear our thoughts and they're loud, and that's good because then you can determine where should these be. Should these be thoughts that stay, or should I let these go and replace them with the truth? But if you just have crap going in your head all day, you will never know. You're just letting it fester and grow. Hey, that rhymes. Okay, I'm done.
I cursed a lot on this podcast too. I usually sneak in 2 or 3 per episode. I got some extras in because this is one of those topics where it's like everyone has the power to do better, just do better. And it's so silly that our own brain, our own organ that is in charge of decision making is helping us to make poor decisions. It's crazy. But if you know that and you can start thinking about your thoughts, like Michelle said, journaling is the most amazing way to do that, to start questioning yourself, your own habits, your own behavior, your own thoughts. I might have said thoughts twice because it's so important. Journaling is the best way to do it. Wow. Anything else?
Nope, I'm good. I've said all I need to say.
All right, y'all, you know what to do. Move that phone charger away from your bed and show us some love. If you love this podcast, show us some love. We do it for you. We don't pump your ears full of ads, right? We've never really pushed anything on you guys except for hopefully helpful advice. Share some love. It's the season of giving. All we're asking is that you leave us voice memos at creationtocashflow.com and leave us 5-star reviews and give us comments on Apple Podcasts and Spotify and on YouTube, and just let us know that you're here, you're getting value, topics you want to hear more about. Make it conversational, make it fun. Hope you enjoyed. If you're looking for more ways to free yourself from your own mind, make more money, and thrive as a content creator or entrepreneur, make sure you're subscribed and make sure you follow me and Michelle. You can follow Michelle on pretty much every platform at Michelle JH. That is Michelle spelled with 2 L's, then 4 E's, JH. And you can find me everywhere but LinkedIn at Get Ahead with Nick. I'm banned on LinkedIn because I have so much discipline. They wouldn't let me stay. So that's all we got. We love you guys, and we will see you next week.